everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rocky Talk. I'm Alexis Ruma alongside Caitlin Gill and Matthew Selitsky. Caitlin, I know you're excited to talk about this one since the Packers dominated, so let's start with you. What were your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, what's not to be excited about? That was an incredible Thanksgiving performance. Whether or not you're a Packers fan, Lions fan, that was a lot of points and a lot of action. And obviously, Jordan Love first. I'm going to touch on him now and then dive deeper later. But he was the first ever QB in Packers history to have 3 games with 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in his first 9 games. First quarterback ever to do that, so that's impressive. And he's really starting to come into his own on our team. And speaking of people coming in on their own, we have some of the most underrated components on both our offense and defense. Defensive, I was so concerned when Rasul Douglas got traded that we were going to be screwed in our secondary. But Carrington Valentine has been incredible, and Rashad Gary is a dog. He had 3 sacks, 7 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles against the line. He has put up so much contribution for this team. And speaking of contribution, Jaden Reed is coming into his own on wide receiver. Among rookie wide receivers, he ranks first in rushes of at least 10 yards with 4, tied for second in plays of at least 20 yards with 10, and third in total touchdowns with 6. And he's done all that in the last few weeks. He is coming up, and Jordan Love coming up. This is a classic case of media speaks and twists the narrative, because realistically, Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love have mirror-perfect stats their first 11 games. Aaron Rodgers, 2,599 pass yards and 21 touchdowns. You know what Jordan Love has? 2,599 pass yards and 21 total touchdowns. And people argue, what about interceptions? Rodgers 9, Love 10. So we are on the same playing field. And this weekend, the Packers play the Chiefs. And guess whose stats aren't that far off from Jordan Love's? Patrick Mahomes. This is also a very underrated matchup because everyone's loving Taylor Swift this season. We have Simone Biles with Jonathan Owens, y'all, so this is going to be worth the watch. And Mahomes this season, 2,917 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Love only about 400 yards behind and 2 touchdowns. So everyone's going to give him a break. And the Packers right now, we got the Bears, Panthers, Bucks, and Giants coming up. Very winnable games. And if we manage to take a win over the Vikings or Chiefs, Packers look like a playoff lock.
I think it's blasphemous to compare Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love was the X factor. This was a Jordan Love game and nobody else. It's the truth. He was dominant as he has been all season.
Well, to 2 points. Number one, comparing Love and Rodgers is to the point that everyone trashes Love because he's just not the next quarterback.
He was mediocre to start the season.
He has the same stats as Aaron Rodgers. What do you mean he's less capable?
5 and 6. We're
not saying
11 games in.
Yes, but look at his change in the last 4 games. His stats are absolutely incredible, and all those interceptions are well passed. He is doing great. And also the comparison with Patrick Mahomes is everyone says Patrick Mahomes. He lost all his weapons. He has no one to go to. Jordan Love has a whole wide receiver group of first and second years. Why is it different?
Why?
It's not different. He's doing the same
stats. Because you're 5 and 6.
stats.
That's why it's different.
It doesn't matter. That's a team stat.
Here's the bottom line, right? I don't remember what the stat was way back when Aaron Rodgers was in his first season, but I'd be willing to bet he had a better record than 5 and 6 Packers.
No, he actually
right
did
now.
it. The Packers were 6 and 10.
At the end of the season, I'm saying 11 games in. 11 games in.
They were probably worse.
Well, we'd have to go back.
So
into
everyone
the history
has to
books.
understand that everyone has an origin, and you got to give credit where credit's due. Love
He's
had an
been
incredible
excellent.
performance, and what he's working with, all our wide receivers are coming in their own too. Christian Watson, we finally got him in action. Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, they're all making contributions right now. The Packers look like a solid team for what they are. They're not Super Bowl contenders.
No,
but
not at
for
all.
what they're working with, they look pretty damn good.
Look, aside from Zach Wilson, aside from Mac Jones, Jordan Love is the 3rd worst quarterback in the NFL among starting quarterbacks.
No, are you kidding me?
It's not a debate.
Are you kidding
Statistically,
me?
off paper, however you want to look at it, 3rd worst quarterback. But with that being said,
contributing off the field, speaking of that, Jalen Hurts has been such a solid foundation for this team. He has absolute composure, and he's looking at the bigger picture right now. In the win over the Bills, he had 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. And they play the Niners, which is a hard battle, and for some reason the Niners are favored, whether that be injury or people still doubting that the Eagles could stay consistent and stay solid all season long. But they have the opportunity to be the first team to clinch the playoff berth and almost guarantee home field playoff advantage throughout the season. So they are the only team with less than 3 losses and they still have the third best Super Bowl odds. So I definitely think this is time for the Eagles to silence the haters.
What are your guys' predictions for these 4 games?
Well, I'll start in the East with the number 1 seed. I'm taking the Bucs over the Knicks at home. Pretty much a given for me. They've already played this season. Milwaukee won 110-105, and that was despite a Jalen Brunson 45-point performance, and Dame and Giannis combined for 52 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists in that game. So I don't think the Bucs drop this one at home. They got to protect the number 1 seed.
You want to go back and forth like each round? How about we do that?
Sure.
Okay, I agree. Bucs being at home is a huge thing.
And then Indiana, Boston. Boston is at Indiana,
right.
And I think give the Pacers a little bit of hope. They did deserve it. They had a 4-0 performance in pool play. And Celtics are 8-0 at home, but they're slightly over 500 on the road. So Indy does have a small chance, but then again, I'm pretty sure Boston, Bucks, we're going to see them in the Eastern Finals.
Yeah.
Then we have the Suns and the Lakers, and this one could go either way.
That's a good one.
Could go either way. Lakers did win against them in pool play, 122-119, close game. Durant and James combined for 70 points. So this is going to be a star-studded roster, but the difference is going to be Booker was sidelined in that game. So I think he comes in, he's the factor. It's going to be a close one, but I'm going to take the Suns.
Nobody's competed in an in-season tournament yet in NBA history. But if there's anybody to believe in, it's LeBron James. Give me LeBron over the Suns.
And there's one thing he has yet to do: win an NBA in-season tournament cup.
Yeah,
So if it's any record to break, it's now.
He could do it.
All right, then we got the Kings and the Pelicans. And this is also a combative one. The Pelicans are 2-0 against the Kings this season, so they do have a slight advantage. But what I hear from that is revenge time. And we got to look down for the Kings. They got to look to lock down Zion Williamson. He put up 51 points in their 2 wins over the Kings. And the thing that, hey, when it comes down to it, I'm going to take Sacramento because they are plus 12.3 in clutch time situations. So if anyone's going to clutch up, it's Sacramento. I'll start with the East because I know what your answer is, Matt. I'm going to say the Cavs, okay? Donovan Mitchell has been giving his all for this team. He is averaging 29.5 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. And the Cavs started the season off as 9th in offensive rating and 1st in defensive, and now they've fallen to 22 and 11th respectively. So it's been a hard downfall for them.
How are they this bad on defense? And it's really interesting. It boggles my mind.
It boggles mine, too, because the biggest push for Adrian Griffin was he is a heavy defensive-minded coach.
Right.
So that was the improvement that the Bucs fans were expecting. But I think he's taken his Toronto experience and is initiating that, but not adapting to the Bucs. And I feel like you mentioned Brook Lopez. There's so much more he can do, but I just feel like he's not adapting to the team he's working with.
And for the West?
Well, I'm going to say Grizzlies, the most obvious choice. I mean, there's a lot of expectations here. They added Marcus Smart. They added Derrick Rose. And granted, he was initiated a 25-game suspension. So that's taken a huge hit. And this is a team where, like you said, it's kind of just right now. In the long run, I think they'll be able to turn things around and pick it up a little bit. But they currently have the league's worst record at 1-8. And they are ranked in the bottom half on both offense and defense in the league. So I think that's the most obvious choice.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this segment of Rocky Top, as we'll head back over to Orange Zone. Thanks for tuning in.